Damn it.
Rem spat and twirled the axe in his hand as if performing a trick. He had just missed catching the one called Hawk's Eye or whatever. It felt as irritating as not wiping after taking a dump.
I can't remember the last time I failed a hunt.
The archer was quick-witted and fast on his feet. The moment he sensed Rem's presence, he bolted, and the arrow he shot while fleeing was sharp. Rem touched the spot near his left side where the arrow had grazed him. No wound. Just a failed attempt to dodge perfectly. A bad feeling was a bad feeling. He had charged in, skewing the enemy formation. Rem began to make his way back to the area he had scouted.
Who the hell is this guy?
Kill him.
There were hardly any allies around. He had gone in a bit too deep. But it wasn't something he was particularly concerned about. Instead of grumbling or cursing, Rem swung the axes in his hands. The axe in his right hand was one he had picked up from an enemy, and its balance was awful. But that didn't bother him either. If it was useless, he'd just throw it away. Whatever. Whoosh! Thud! With a single strike of the axe in his left hand, he split the jaw and neck of the foe, blocking his path, causing sluggish blood to spurt out. A fountain of blood gushed forth. Rem deftly avoided the blood spray and swung his right hand with force. The axe in his hand sliced through the air. Whoosh! Though it wasn't meant for throwing, the axe flew powerfully and hit its target. The axe embedded itself, splitting the enemy's skull in half. After shaking up the enemy lines with his charge, Rem returned to the Allies' formation.
I wonder if our squad leader is still alive.
He's not the type to die easily. Rem had never met such a tough guy in his life.
Even among my tribe, there was no one like him.
He's probably holding on well, using his wits. He's too valuable to die here. Although he's not exactly suited for the battlefield either.
If only he had some of the heart of the beast within him, he'd be fine, but it's a shame about his talent.
Rem had even taught him some of the tribe's secrets out of pity. Not that he was trying to play the role of a teacher. He's just one of those people you don't want to see die right in front of you. If he dies out of sight, well, that's another matter. Having made his way back to the familiar area,
You caused a ruckus and achieved nothing.
it was Jackson. One of the main characteristics of Squad 444 was that no one got along, except for their squad leader, Enkrid. The fact that such a squad managed to function must mean that the squad leader has an inexplicable, almost magical charm.
Huh? Are you talking to me because you want to die? Want your head split by an axe?
Thanks to missing the archer, the battlefield is a mess.
This was definitely picking a fight. Even without seeing the whole battlefield, you could feel it. It wasn't because of the archer, but because of Frog. Somewhere, a frog warrior had burst onto the battlefield, wreaking havoc. Whether it was good luck or bad luck, Rem hadn't run into him.
Shut up. If you don't want to die, don't talk to me.
Crazy barbarian.
They both turned away from each other. It was just a chance encounter, their usual routine of mutual insults. Squad 444 doesn't particularly maintain formation. They fight on their own. Even without formation, even without sticking together, they're noticeable.
Except for that big-eyed bastard.
Rem himself had probably drawn some attention by tearing through the enemy lines. Jackson had a knack for appearing silently. In the distance, he could see a few other squad members. Everyone was fighting on their own. One was swinging his sword with a lazy demeanor. Another was beating people to death in a rigid stance. None of them were ordinary. Of course, the standout was the squad leader, living on sheer grit with less than average talent. Who would call that ordinary?
Just in case.
Rem decided to find and protect the squad leader. He planned to watch his back without being noticed. He still thought the squad leader was too valuable to die.
Besides, he's the first one on this continent to learn my techniques.
Thinking of various reasons, he moved. Soon Enkrid came into view.
Huh?
While he was momentarily distracted, an enemy soldier rushed in. Reflexively, Rem tripped the charging enemy and struck his jaw with the axe handle. The enemy spat out broken teeth. Spinning his body half a turn, Rem landed an elbow strike. Thud, crack, hitting the helmet. It sounded like thick wood breaking. The neck bone had snapped in one blow. Even as Rem twirled his right arm, his gaze remained fixed. No, while fending off attackers, his eyes had been on the squad leader.
Skillful.
It was a sight he hadn't seen before. That skillfulness made him watch rather than rush to help. It didn't look like he was going to lose. It felt almost instinctual, becoming reality. He was fighting against a formidable enemy soldier. He showed an unprecedented calmness and boldness.
How?
How can a person change so much overnight?
I find it surprising too.
Next to him was Jackson again. Why did their paths keep crossing? Was he here to watch the squad leaders back too?
I've been watching all day, while you were fooling around. So?
It's like he's shacking up with the goddess of luck.
What?
He got lucky.
Just luck? It didn't seem right to attribute his current state to luck alone.
His skills have also improved remarkably.
Jackson got along well with other squads, but not with him. Well, that was pretty much the case for everyone in this squad. In fact, this conversation was the longest normal exchange they'd had since he joined the squad. That showed how surprised Jackson was. Rem was just as surprised as Jackson. Moreover, Rem witnessed two more astonishing things after that. One was Enkrid dodging a thrust and then countering with a nearly perfect sword strike.
Good job.
Rem said without realizing it. Jackson also nodded faintly, unceasing effort. Knowing how much blood the squad leader had shed while wielding his sword, a feeling of support naturally arose. Talent is a funny thing. Sometimes you can leap several steps in an instant. Both Rem and Jackson had experienced such leaps themselves, so they didn't feel disconnected from what they were seeing. It seemed like the squad leader had also leapt several steps all at once.
He won.
The opponent was formidable. Of course, if Rem had been the one fighting, a few swings of his axe would have sufficed. The squad leader had always lost to this opponent 10 times out of 10, but this time he won. It didn't seem like an easy victory. Small wounds were visible. The shield in his left hand had become a shattered piece of junk. The leather guards on his hands and knees were torn and ragged. From his heavy breathing, it was clear he was exhausted.
The heart of the beast.
Rem assessed the squad leader's condition at a glance, boldness and calm. The foundation for that was likely the techniques he had taught him.
To have mastered it to this extent.
It was an astonishing level of proficiency. Rem decided to put everything aside and throw a joke.
And moving forward.
Someone shouted at that moment. It was another soldier standing right behind the squad leader. What was his name again? Was it Bell? He remembered it because it sounded similar to his own name. As Bell had said, a frog was charging in, a dark shadow. Frog, the frogman. His face resembled that of a frog, so did his skin. His skin was slick as if covered in oil, causing all weapons, whether blades or blunt objects, to slide off. To kill them, you had to pierce their heart or burn them with magic or spells. That wasn't an easy task. Frog were a natural warrior race with superior strength and combat instincts compared to humans. No matter what weapon they held, they could master it within days. The frog launched itself parallel to the ground, kicking the squad leader's side with the flat of its foot. It didn't look like it intended to end the fight with that single strike. After seeing the squad leader fly sideways from the kick, the frog landed heavily and took its stance. It reached back, grabbing a spear. If left unchecked, the squad leader would die. He would definitely die. The moment Rem saw the dark shadow, he pushed off the ground. The earth shattered with a loud noise. The force of his leap made the ground erupt like a small fountain. In a short moment, Rem's body reached the frog's side. Without a word, he swung his axe in a long arc. From above, the axe curved like a whip, transferring power from his shoulder and arm to the blade. The frog, instead of throwing the spear, performed an incredible trick. In the throwing stance, it moved its right foot to the side and swung the spear shaft upward like a wooden stick. The shift in posture and the upward swing of the spear shaft happened in an instant. Axe met the spear shaft. A vibrating shockwave spread from the point of contact.
An annoying pest, ugly human?
You damn frog bastard, that man is our squad leader.
The squad leader is weaker than the squad members.
The frog instantly recognized Rem's skill. A dash, axe strike, judgment. The frog was a natural-born warrior race. If there was one thing as exceptional as their combat skills, it was their discernment. Their bulging, rolling eyes could instantly gauge an opponent's abilities. They were a race born with the talent to identify talent. The frog rolled its eyes around and then backed off.
Enough, I've calmed down.
What the hell?
Ugly human, that guy pierced it of someone I know. That's why I got excited for a moment, but he's someone I taught, so, well, anyway, it's fine now. It's not worth risking my life here.
The frog's discernment wasn't limited to assessing human talent. Their combat instincts allowed them to instantly evaluate the advantage or disadvantage in a situation. Rem didn't necessarily think the frog was at a disadvantage. Still, if a fight could be avoided, it was preferable. Fighting a frog for small change was not worth it. He fully understood what the frog was saying. Frogs could regenerate limbs as long as their heart wasn't pierced. Because of this, they were sensitive to the word heart. They wouldn't even use the word heart. Seeing someone's heart pierced next to them could make them lose their sanity. A berserk frog exuded a truly savage aura. Frogs that weren't adequately trained wouldn't even step onto the battlefield. Rem reflected on what he knew.
Damn, I must be really getting used to this place.
The fact that he could recite information about frogs so easily indicated that he had fully adapted to life on this continent. The frog patted his chest armor designed solely to protect the heart, known as heart armor. Seeing him wear that confirmed he had followed proper procedures to be here. The frog cities were known for breaking unrefined swords rather than letting them out. The heart armor was like an ID badge for frogs.
See you later, ugly human.
But why does that thing keep calling me ugly? Frogs love jewels and have a unique sense of aesthetics. They preferred good-looking humans.
You do have a face that's too good to kill.
The frog flicked its tongue out as it spoke. The long tongue darted out like catching a fly and then quickly retracted. That was probably its version of a smile. No, she glanced at the squad leader and slowly backed away. Females liked handsome males. Males liked pretty females. That was a frog trait. Their standards for choosing mates among themselves were different, but for some reason, they liked attractive humans. Well, that wasn't Rem's concern.
Are you alive?
Rem saw Jackson holding the squad leader.
A kick to the side fractured his rib, but in that brief moment,
Yeah, he blocked it with his arm.
Excellent. It was worth teaching him. To remain composed and block in the moment of impact. That was thanks to the heart of the beast. Rem felt a sense of pride.
the impact rattled his head. He won't die, but if we leave him like this, he might.
The heat of the battlefield has cooled a bit. Lift him. Let's take him with us.
You lift him. I'll clear the way.
You're really asking to get hit on the head with my axe.
You should watch out for a dagger in your back more than anything.
Rem snorted but didn't escalate into a fight. Well, at least the squad leader had performed well. That's what mattered. Rem lifted Enkrid. Jackson moved ahead of him, clearing the path with his sword and shield. At first glance, he didn't seem particularly skilled, but upon closer inspection, you could see, clearing the path without even showing half of his true skill.
Crafty little cat.
Rem cursed silently to himself as they walked. The squad leader on his back continued to breathe softly, as if asleep. Frog recalled the scene reflected in his eyes.
I thought he would win.
He was someone who had been taught, and had quite talented himself. His personality wasn't particularly pleasing, but that's not something he could change. A soldier trained primarily in thrusting. He was quite skilled. He wasn't someone who would die so easily on such a small battlefield. If he had kept him, he would have at least become a squad leader. Frog recalled why the soldier had died.
Was it due to lack of experience?
No, there were only a few soldiers trained in this way until now. He wasn't just someone who would die like this.
Was it because the opponent was skilled?
So it was bad luck. He was ignored by the goddess of luck. Frog chuckled softly.
Luck is also a skill.
As he entered his camp, and Lieutenant approached.
I've been looking for you for a while, General.
Oh, really?
Were you out on the enemy lines?
I just went out for fun.
You seem to be in a good mood. I saw the guy who got stabbed there.
Frog considers heart a taboo word. Just watching someone get stabbed to death next to him makes him sick. But Frog laughs while saying that. The lieutenant thinks there might be bugs in the general's head, but the lieutenant doesn't doubt him. The experienced Frog sometimes mentions the word heart, and the Frog general in front of him was a seasoned soldier. If he set his mind to it, he could spit out the word heart, so he could laugh while watching someone get stabbed to death. To be precise, when he saw something more interesting than getting stabbed in the heart, Frog could laugh.
You seem to have seen something interesting. Well, just a strangely interesting guy.
He wouldn't be an ally. If he had been, he would have brought him in earlier. Frog walked briskly, saying blandly, "Frog's soles are thick, he didn't even need boots." Sometimes, because it was too slippery, there were some who put nails in Frog's soles. However, General Frog didn't like those who put nails in their soles. If it is accompanied by good sense and appropriate training, slippery soles also become weapons.
He mimicked the thrust.
It wasn't his area of talent. Frog's eyes gauged the degree of skill the opponent has mastered. General Frog saw the enemy soldier thrust. Thanks to this, it was possible to know.
Countless tempering and tempering skills.
It is closer to the skill learned by staking his life than to be said to have learned it. The area of ignorant effort rather than talent.
A skill honed through countless repetitions.
If luck overlaps dozens or hundreds of times, there are things that can't happen. If you survive even after seeing thrusts countlessly in front of you, you could make such moves. Everything else is a mess, but only the thrust was worth it. But does this make sense?
With that kind of skill.
Surviving time and again on the battlefield, staking his life to learn means proving that he barely survived. Clearly, it was a move that could be seen by repeatedly colliding and breaking with opponents stronger than oneself. Does this make sense? It doesn't, so it piques interest.
I hope to see him again next time.
General Frog thought such a thing would not happen. The goddess of luck is unfair. She's biased. She favors someone with luck, but even that luck has its limits.
He must have used up a lifetime's worth of luck.
There won't be another time to see it. That doesn't mean he'll die today. He kicked away the excitement, but somehow managed to stop it. And seeing the two who came to protect him at the end, he didn't seem likely to die on the battlefield right now. Still, it didn't seem like it would last long. Rushing recklessly towards a superior opponent, even with modest talent, would improve one's skills. Because hundreds of lives may be needed.
General.
Let's eat.
Frog stopped thinking about that and lost interest in the other side. Now it's time to focus on other things, namely eating. It was time to devise a strategy. The blonde lieutenant nodded at the general's words.
Let's go. I'll prepare the meal.
A sailor appeared. Enkrid realized he was sitting on a boat.
A dream.
It seemed like he had encountered something like this before. It was a distant memory. When was it?
When I first woke up again.
A sailor without a mouth, a voice tinged with curiosity. He recalled the vague memory.
Back then.
He had thought it was a daydream. What importance did meeting a sailor in a dream have?
You've crossed over a day like a dragon.
The sailor said. Just like then, Enkrid couldn't say a word. It seemed that listening was the only thing allowed here.
Having eyes but unable to see. Having a mouth but unable to speak. Having ears but unable to hear properly.
The sailor spoke as if singing, a mix of actual melody and rhythm. He couldn't even blink, unable to move anything at will, including his senses. It felt stifling and frustrating.
What can I do now?
If it's a dream, shouldn't spells come out of your hands and all that? It's a dream, but not just a dream. Realizing this, Enkrid knew all he could do was listen.
Can you continue to endure? Can you do that? I will continue to stand in your way.
I don't understand what he's saying. Didn't he just say that even if he has ears, he can't hear properly?
You still can't even hear my name.
He looked at the sailor. A vague figure appeared over the black veil. It seemed obscured by droplets of dew blocking his view. It was that vague, all black. At first, he thought there was only no mouth, but there was nothing at all.
Right now, all you can hear is my whims and kindness.
He says and chuckles. It wasn't clear that he was laughing. He seemed to be letting the other person know that he was laughing.
So what does he want me to do?
Ah, there's nothing over, and you can't get away. The wall blocking your way will always be there. That will be your fate.
The word wall sounded strange. Actually, he seemed to hear something different, but it sounded like wall. What on earth is this?
Can you survive?
I don't know what nonsense this is.
Of course.
Huh? Words are coming out? There was no doubt about it. It seemed like the other person was even more surprised.
You.
Whatever the sailor whispered was soon lost in a haze. The boat disappeared. Enkrid fell into deep water. Above the water through the mist, a dark mass, not words but intent, conveyed.
This won't stay in your memory, but...
Chuckle. The sailor laughed and spoke.
You're really an interesting one.
That was the end of it. Losing consciousness as he sank into the deep water, Enkrid descended into the abyss like that.
Who is the hero of this battlefield? Cyprus. Who is the master of this battlefield? Cyprus. Who charges towards tomorrow? Cyprus. Who passes judgment?
It was a song, a cheerful melody, a deep voice, perfectly timed rhythm.
A military anthem.
No, it wasn't a military anthem. Since joining this unit, I had learned a few military anthems, but nothing like this. What I learned here was more like a rhythmic chant than a military anthem.
We will prevail.
Under the protection of the unyielding sun, embraced by the power of the divine. Well, that kind of thing. No melody, just shouts thrown out with vigor and force. But now there was melody and rhythm alive in it. It was a familiar song to the ear.
A bard song.
Not all bard songs are the same. Among them, there are those who enlist in the military to boost morale on one side. It might be the case even now. Where would a bard want to create and sing praise for someone like Cyprus? Moreover, that young one probably hasn't even seen a knight named Cyprus.
Are you alive?
Turning towards the voice, Rem appeared. His side was twitching like mad. As he reached out to touch, Rem grabbed his hand.
You didn't break anything too narrowly, so don't worry. But your head sure got a good shake. How many fingers is this?
Rem held up and folded a few fingers, shaking them.
Go eat shit.
Enkrid tried to accept the current situation. Today was over. Just facing that situation made his mind fierce. It was difficult to accept Rem's banter.
See, you seem out of it. I'm Rem, forever buddy of the squad leader.
You crazy bastard.
Forget me? That's too harsh.
Enkrid closed his eyes for a moment, then opened them. Today has passed, so a day had gone by. His mind was scattered. The dream was too chaotic.
Didn't he say I wouldn't remember?
But it remained vivid. Dark water, a boat, a sailor, with no eyes, nose, or mouth. I remembered everything he said. It felt a bit blurry, like something from a distant past. But my memory has always been good since I was young. Enkrid remembered it all.
I haven't forgotten, noble hunter.
He recalled the nickname Rem once had.
Shh, that's supposed to be a secret.
Finally, Rem's banter ceased. He stared at him, likely wondering why he brought up that topic. Enkrid gathered his thoughts. First things first.
What happened to me?
Finally, he could hear the full story. The fallen soldier, the unexpectedly increased skill, and Frog.
Did a frog interfere?
Despite years of being a mercenary, this was the first time he had seen Frog in person. Of course, also the first time he had been hit by Frog. It was fortunate that his ribs weren't completely shattered. If you encounter Frog as an enemy on the battlefield,
Run, hide, die.
3 seasoned mercenaries offered different answers, yet the conclusion was the same. If you can't run or hide, you'll die. Frog was that dangerous and formidable. That's how it is with warrior races. Giants, dragons, even fairies. Any race inherently possessed superior abilities compared to humans. But it's humans who most often rise to knight-level prowess. That's likely why humans are the dominant force on this continent.
After that, I literally had to personally carry you out of the battlefield. It was truly a treacherous path. I almost died.
If it had been genuinely dangerous, he wouldn't have been able to speak like this.
I owe you. If you knew that, you could just do the dishwashing duty about 10 times.
This guy, seriously. Enkrid sighed inwardly but nodded his head. He had said to leave once he finished speaking, but Rem didn't get up easily as usual, his usual smiling face.
You practiced alone when I wasn't looking.
What kind of nonsense was this?
Your heart was ripened?
Huh.
I taught you, didn't I know?
Enkrid realized that Rem had been watching him. Well, since he was watching, he could help in times of trouble.
By accident. After surviving several close calls, I figured out what it was.
Already a plausible excuse dozens of times. Among them, it was the most plausible thing to say. It was a true truth without lies, just a little reduced. Without going through several close calls, he couldn't really die.
Well done.
Rem finally brushed himself off and got up.
Rest well, your body needs to recover for what's next.
Enkrid finally looked around. It was a medical tent, where the injured gathered. Shall I get up? When he tried to get up, a soldier sitting on one said with blurry eyes,
You shouldn't move yet. It will make things worse. My head shook a lot.
He seemed to have visited a military official from a private soldier. Just a private soldier. If he's hurt, it's a relief if there's a guy who knows some herbs among his colleagues. If not, it's a usual thing to just die.
How did I get here even in a medical tent?
It was okay to find out later more than that.
Today's gone.
It's important that a new day has started. Looking toward the entrance of the tent, light came in through the cracks. It wasn't sunlight, the light of a flickering torch, along with the shadows that moved with it. The minstrel's song continued.
Who is the hero? Cypress.
The sound of soldiers shouting through the rear window. He survived today and lived the next day. However, he seemed to have spent the entire morning and afternoon unconscious, waking up only in the evening.
Did I pass the day?
He asked the medic who was waiting.
It's been a day. It's the second day.
The shock was immense. Enkrid closed his eyes, thinking nonetheless that getting through today was what mattered. He defeated the jabbing soldier. He surpassed him with skill. Afterward, Enkrid thought about the sailor. He recalled and pondered over what he had said. There was no choice. He had said it would repeat. Therefore,
If I die, today repeats.
as if suggesting to endure some punishment. However,
Why would that be a punishment?
to Enkrid it was not a punishment but a trial. After being unconscious for 2 days straight, Enkrid slept for another half day. Upon waking, he saw bread and soup in front of him. A long shadow passed over the bread and soup, then disappeared. He turned his eyes to the half-open tent entrance. It seemed to be dawn. There was no sound of people coming and going, and fewer torch stands were set up, so the light entering the tent was much less than before. Everyone inside the tent was asleep. Enkrid reached for the bread.
My arm moves without any trouble.
Since he was reaching for the bread, he decided to try to sit up. Zing, then pain surged from his side, hurting so much it made the back of his head tingle.
Still this much.
Rem said it wasn't broken. He thought the same. Although he had fainted from the shock to his head, luckily there didn't seem to be any serious damage. He wasn't dizzy, and his eyes, nose, and ears were all fine. He dipped the torn bread into the cold soup and shoved it into his mouth.
My tongue is fine, too.
He must have been really hungry because even this tasted good. His tongue reacted to the subtle sweetness of the flour. The soup, though slightly more flavorful than plain water, was enough to fill his empty stomach. Enkrid chewed each bite thoroughly and swallowed slowly, as if the thick soup and bread were dishes from a proper restaurant.
Eating quickly after fainting will upset your stomach.
He knew this from experience. Normally, this would be something a soldier guarding the infirmary would tell him. The soldier he saw in the evening seemed annoyed by everything. A soldier guarding the infirmary, was that really a necessary position?
He must have some connections.
Otherwise, would a perfectly healthy person be here guarding the injured? After filling his stomach, Enkrid forced himself to sit up. Lying down immediately after eating hinders digestion. If you're injured, you need to eat well and rest well. Proper digestion was part of eating well.
Whew.
Enkrid let out a small sigh and stared blankly at the flickering light at the tent entrance. His eyes were fixed on the flickering torch, but his mind was filled with other thoughts. The repeated days today, and finally, that day he overcame. Enkrid reviewed and reviewed that today. He recalled that moment so vividly that it even appeared in his dreams. If he considered the thrust alone, it was excellent. Even he thought it was a perfectly clean strike.
Bringing the fight to that point wasn't bad either.
Valen's mercenary sword style was a great help, and he had honed his skills through countless repetitions of today. But that didn't mean everything was perfect.
It was sloppy.
That was the result of recalling that moment countless times. Someone passed by in front of the tent. The shadow of a soldier passing in front of the burning torch stretched long. In Enkrid's imagination, the elongated shadow transformed into a thrusting form.
When I thrusted,
What if the opponent had dodged? The shadow evaded the thrust. After dodging, it swung its sword and slashed. The blade effortlessly cut through the neck of the shadow that represented Enkrid.
then I'd be the one dead.
Was he fully prepared? Hardly.
I was lacking.
If the opponent had been just a little bit smarter, if they had known how to fight just a little bit better, if they had just a bit more experience, if they had survived just until the next battlefield.
No, that's going too far.
That's an exaggeration. Thinking like this could go on forever. The shadow wielding a sword was a product of his imagination, and as he shook off his thoughts, it disappeared. Enkrid stopped worrying about what had already happened.
Instead of dwelling on what-ifs, let's think about the next step.
Rem said that he must know how to thrust with all his strength, but that didn't mean he could do it with every attack. So he thought it through. Show the thrust once. Before that, keep provoking the opponent. When the provoked opponent attempts a thrust, counterattack.
I bet everything on a single thrust.
A thrust that, if it failed, meant death. Was that really the right thing to do? Leading the fight in that way was not the answer. Enkrid knew that too. What if it didn't work out and he faced anew today?
If the thrust didn't work, should I have relied on luck?
No, that couldn't be. That was unacceptable. Not luck, but skill. Enkrid believed it was the best way to seize the opportunity given to him. Thinking it over didn't fill him with self-reproach. It was simply a matter of recalling the facts and distinguishing between what he did well and what he lacked, just as he had always done after a battle or a sparring match.
If you fought and survived by betting half your life, that fight will become your asset, Enki.
The old swordsman was a fencing teacher in a quiet coastal town, teaching children. In terms of skill, he was probably too ashamed to make a name for himself even in a small commercial city, let alone a big city. But he wasn't bad at teaching. At least to Enkrid, he was an excellent teacher.
If you plan to eat sword meals until the day you die, after a battle, digest everything you gained from that fight, defecate it, and then digest it again. That's how you'll survive.
It was a path the old teacher had experienced firsthand. He limped on his left foot. His body was covered in sword scars. Hard-earned lessons learned through life and death struggles. That instructor charged a lot for his lessons, but it wasn't a waste. It was a valuable time. Now was the time to recall what he had learned from him.
There must be another way.
He couldn't thrust with all his strength every single moment. Otherwise, he would be the one to die. Rem wouldn't fight like that either. But when it came to sparring with that crazy Rem bastard, every single one of his axe swings felt heavy and filled with killing intent.
How could he do that?
The joy of successfully landing the thrust was fleeting. Enkrid didn't let himself bask in the sense of achievement. Well, he was happy. He felt a great deal of satisfaction in overcoming a barrier through his own efforts. But he didn't stop there. Naturally, Enkrid envisioned the future. What came after the successful thrust, because a future he couldn't see before achieving it was now visible. He was reaching for and walking toward that tomorrow's sun.
What if I thrust with all my strength but didn't put my whole heart into it?
He was getting closer to the answer. Thinking alone revealed very little, but that was okay. This wasn't all the time Enkrid had been given. The faceless ferryman had said so. This wasn't the end. Walls would keep appearing.
Did he say it would repeat?
Then he would just have to bet his life and challenge again. Knowing that such moments would come again made his heart race. A peculiar warmth that started in his lower abdomen spread throughout his body. Enkrid ignored that heat. Now was not the time to push his body.
First, I need to rest.
Even without a doctor, his throbbing side clearly needed several days of rest.
But how did I even get here?
What usually happens when a soldier gets injured? Regardless of the severity, they are either treated at their own barracks until they die, or, if they're lucky, they get a doctor by their side for treatment. Alternatively, if the goddess of luck showered them with a bundle of coins, they might receive a priest's prayer. Divine healing is possible only when luck and connections come together. Of course, it would be a different story for a high-ranking officer. In any case, Enkrid was none of these. That meant someone had intervened here.
I have no idea.
Seeing that he was starting to burp, it seemed his digestion was done. Enkrid lay down and slept. He slept very deeply. When injured, eating well and sleeping well is the best. The next day, when he opened his eyes, he saw a pair of large, round eyes.
Move your face away!
When he pushed the big-eyed face with his hand, the person moved back before he could even touch them.
I didn't want to wake you because you were sleeping so soundly, but you woke up at the right time!
Hardly.
This guy was more likely to kick him awake, complaining about wasting time.
Who do you think put the squad leader in here?
The big-eyed guy said, puffing out his chest, so it was his doing. Well, if it wasn't him or Jackson among the squad members, no one else had such pull.
I had to loosen my purse strings for this, you owe me, don't forget it!
He never asked to be put here, but still it was a good thing. The infirmary offers better meals than the regular barracks and is located at the rear. It also has the advantage of not having to do anything. Everyone is exempt from duties, regardless of their status. If it weren't for being here, Enkrid would be clutching his aching side and struggling to keep the squad in order.
But will the squad run well without me?
It was an unnecessary worry. Who is the weakest in the 444th squad to be worrying?
Ah, the weakest one is this guy.
Big Eyes was terrible at fighting, but that didn't mean he was without talent. No matter what trick he used, he managed to get out of the way every time a battle broke out, claiming he was in a special unit and heading to the rear. Quite a talent. This time, Enkrid benefited from his skills.
Should I thank you by bowing my head?
No need for grand gestures, just don't forget.
Why is it so important for me not to forget? Got it.
Good, I'm busy, so I'll be off now.
It was gracious of him to visit despite being busy. It wasn't just Big Eyes and Rem who came. Jackson stopped by and casually tossed a small jar to him.
Apply this to your side once a day, and it should ease the pain. Just don't mention where you got it, especially a secret from our squad members, right?
Jackson shrugged and left swiftly. When Enkrid twisted open the small jar, about the size of 2 fingers, he saw a dark green ointment.
Did they crush some herbs to make this?
If it was made specifically for him, it was quite thoughtful. Of course, that wasn't the case. He had seen this stuff a few times before, though it was his first time using it. He scooped some ointment with his fingertip, shoved his hand between his clothes, and carefully spread it over his side. The pain surged every time he moved, but the area where he applied the ointment started to warm up, and the pain eased considerably.
Not bad.
Enkrid decided to use it sparingly, closed the jar tightly, and put it under the bed.
But was the infirmary close to our barracks? Doesn't seem like the kind of place you'd just pass by.
Anyway, it didn't matter. Getting an effective ointment was enough. After that, 2 more squad members came and went.
Sorry, squad leader. There's nothing I can do to help.
One spoke as if there was something he could do but wasn't doing.
The squad's a mess without you. Here, take this.
Another tossed him half an apple he had been eating and left. The last one who stopped by definitely just happened to pass by. That guy often got lost. He had heard him outside the infirmary saying, "Our squad leader is here? Why?"
That guy didn't even know I was injured.
Raising squad members is a waste.
Not that I raised them.
Everyone but Enkrid knew how to fight well and bail out when needed.
I should worry about my own matters.
If one person's absence makes the squad a mess, imagine how chaotic it would be. Everyone will manage on their own. It's best to set aside unnecessary worries. But
Hey, you.
this was more concerning. A new visitor entered the barracks during lunchtime. The infirmary was large. It could accommodate over 10 people if squeezed in, yet there were only 3 patients in this large infirmary. Enkrid with a sore side, and the newly arrived squad leader who was staring at him, and in the corner, lying down, absent-mindedly staring at the ceiling, was a blonde. The one who approached Enkrid was the squad leader.
Skill level of a bottom-tier soldier and a mercenary-turned-squad leader. Are you going around giving orders, even kicking someone's butt? How did you become a squad leader?
So this was the bigger issue. This squad leader was a real piece of work. His name was Vengeance. Whoever promoted him must have really liked his name. Why Vengeance hate him? No idea. He'd been growling since their first meeting.
And to top it off, you're in the infirmary. Real comfortable, huh?
Yeah, that's what I think too.
The armrest is quite comfortable. If only platoon leader Vengeance weren't here, it would have been perfect.
Yes, nice to meet you, platoon leader.
Nice?
Would it be rude to say he was just okay? Enkrid was an adult. He knew how to wear a mask.
Yes, a bit.
A bit? Not very much.
This guy.
Vengeance erupted in anger, but he didn't rush in. It was more accurate to say he couldn't. He had deeply wounded his thigh in the previous battle. It was so difficult for him to get up right away, so.
Isn't this the perfect opportunity to tease him?
Enkrid was an adult. He knew how to wear a mask, and he knew how to tease a stubborn guy.
Hey you, come here. Your voice is loud. This is the infirmatory. What do you want, you brat?
Growling aside, even a rough beast poses no threat when it's out of reach.
It seems our fates are intertwined. The first time we met was in the lower village, right?
It was a cursed fate, a fate that always seemed to collide unexpectedly.
Where does this unlucky bastard pretend to be friendly?
The one who first spoke was Vengeance. Enkrid didn't bother to argue about that. He wasn't narrow-minded enough to care about such things.
Well then.
Instead, he turned his body. Jackson's ointment worked wonders. Even moving like this, he hardly felt any pain.
What are you doing?
You told me not to pretend to be friendly. so I'm pretending not to know.
Is this guy joking?
Vengeance shouted angrily. If he had known it was a joke, there would have been no need to get angry. But you know.
Maybe it's because I'm usually among such stern squad members.
Seeing Vengeance after a long time made him almost cute. Watching Rem and Jackson and the other squad members argue often felt like it was shortening his lifespan.
Oh, you noticed. Indeed, platoon leader, the future of the Cypress Battalion.
You.
Vengeance, with veins bulging on his forehead, through his boot. Enkrid promptly caught them.
A gift.
I'll kill you, you bastard.
Rem had said something like that once. He was good at reading people hymns-fairy, but
I don't really want to get involved with a squad leader who just opens his mouth recklessly.
Enkrid said casually, holding the boots with a calm expression. Vengeance snorted as he watched him, and then
Ha ha ha.
a soldier who had been relentless in passing the time laughed loudly, looking into the air. It was a laugh that seemed to suggest he was about to go crazy with joy. At the sound of that laughter, Vengeance's stern gaze quickly turned away. The blond man, whose laughter had brought tears to his eyes, wiped them away with a finger bent outward.
No, a gift? Really, I couldn't bear it anymore. I was pretending not to know from the start. Whew.
Crackle. Enkrid thought Vengeance's molars might break before he turned 40. Continuously grinding, molars isn't good for the gums either. He debated whether to mention this. If he said a little more, he might not be able to bear his anger, and he'd be recorded as a dead soldier with blood rushing to his head.
Your affiliation?
Vengeance asked calmly. Instead of swearing at his opponent, he asked about his affiliation.
Me, oh, just a passing soldier.
Oh? Enkrid secretly admired his opponent's ambition. He hymns-fairy might be a squad leader. But the other seemed to be just an ordinary soldier, yet with that kind of attitude. However, saying that made it feel like he was actually hiding his affiliation and position. Vengeance wasn't sure what to make of it either.
You can't reveal your affiliation.
Yeah, sort of, but I really am just a soldier. I forgot my unit.
Calmly, Enkrid saw a noble demeanor in the blond man. If the scoundrel who forgets his own unit isn't noble,
He deserves a good beating.
there would be nothing left to say, even if he were beaten to death. So the attitude he showed now was dignity. Scratch, scratch. Vengeance couldn't say or do anything.
But right now, you shouldn't be looking at me like that. You should probably look behind.
Enkrid and Vengeance had been looking towards the blond man, so both turned their heads back. There was someone behind them.
When?
He couldn't say his instincts were exceptional, but he had a sense on the battlefield. There was some intuition, but right now he didn't know who was behind him. He didn't even hear it.
Here? Is this where the fourth squad leader is?
It was a woman, and generally, her body's lines were thinner than those of humans. Her eyes were sharp, and her ears of a larger type. She was a fairy. She stared directly at the blond man and spoke. Seeing her natural tone, it was clear she was a superior. Enkrid assessed the situation and raised his hand to speak.
I am Squad Leader Enkrid of the 4th Platoon, 4th Squad of the 4th Company.
The fairy woman's gaze finally shifted away from the blond man. Then, a soldier guarding the entrance to the tent fluttered in and added further explanation.
Yes, he's the squad leader under your command.
A fairy?
Apparently quite surprised, Vengeance finally reacted. Ignoring his remark, the fairy turned her head without even moving an eyebrow.
He's the 3rd platoon leader in this company.
The soldier responsible for the duty barracks spoke without being asked. The fairy woman's tone that followed was exceptionally dry. Someone once said fairies symbolize grass and trees, but her voice was akin to the sands of the desert.
Does the 2nd platoon teach to mention one's race upon seeing a superior? I know I'm a fairy better than anyone. It's killing me.
Enkrid saw innate grace and charisma in the fairy woman. With a single word, he pressed down on her counterpart.
No, not at all. I'm the 3rd platoon leader, Ben's Vengeance.
Just one request.
Yes.
Vengeance, platoon leader, while I'm around, I sincerely hope you keep that mouth shut. You don't need to respond to my request right now. If that mouth of yours opens, I might just want to stick a knife or a fist in your face. Is that clear?
Enkrid didn't explicitly mention that Vengeance's name was Vengeance. Vengeance started to open his mouth, but then clamped it shut with both hands.
Well then, I heard you're leading an interesting squad.
The company commander's gaze returned to Enkrid.
Yes, thank you.
There was nothing good about standing out in the new company commander's eyes, he replied succinctly. During their subsequent conversation, Enkrid felt a strange sensation.
Why did this woman come here?
That was the only irrelevant thought. They might say she distinguished herself in battle. If you look at Enkrid as an individual, his performance is good. He had dispatched enemy troops with piercing accuracy. In the process, he had saved quite a few nearby comrades within arm's reach. But if asked if that had an impact on the battlefield,
Well, okay.
he didn't think so. Separate from his skills, Enkrid had a keen eye for the battlefield.
You survived encountering Frog?
Yes, I was lucky.
Luck is also a skill. The goddess of luck doesn't often drop her coin.
Yes, thank you.
Why go through such conversations like this? Enkrid couldn't fathom the other party's intentions at all. Anyway, the ferry company commander, with eyes glowing green, spoke to him and Enkrid responded dutifully. Shortly after, the company commander turned away, saying,
Well, I'll expect more from you in the future.
Just before leaving, she glanced back once more. This time, her gaze was directed at the blond man,
What's your name?
Krang.
rolling his eyes and furrowing his brow as he said his name, clearly.
Clearly just made it up.
That was the kind of name it was.
I see.
The company commander replied nonchalantly and left the tent. By then, Vengeance, who had barely been able to breathe properly, finally breathed deeply.
Damn.
Oh, company commander.
Upon hearing the curse, Vengeance jumped in surprise when Enkrid spoke.
Oh, it's just a passing soldier.
This damn bastard.
For today, Vengeance, who had become Ben's vengeance, as fiery as could be, vented his anger. The blond man who identified Himsfairy as Cran laughed loudly again. The soldier guarding the tent, wondering why these three were behaving like this, glanced over and slipped outside. Enkrid looked at platoon leader Vengeance and thought there would be no dull moments while he was here. A review of the fight, the direction to move forward. Enkrid focused on two things.
To stab with all his might, but not to put all his heart into it.
Not even a day passed before he found a lead, and his body was itching. Still, he couldn't roll his body right now. Because his side hurts, the only training he could do is the arm strength training. Enkrid trained his fingers and forearm muscles. In some ways, it looked like a fool's deed.
The body is the foundation of all skills.
No matter how small a leaf is, it weighs, and even a drop of water can pierce the rock with time's help. Therefore, the insignificant efforts now will be helpful in the future. Enkrid believed so and built his tower until now.
You're working really hard.
It's Krang. After the commander left, 2 days. Except for a review of the fight, Enkrid didn't do anything. He devoted himself to rest. Resting is important too. If something has changed, only a half-crazy soldier who made excuses and forgot his affiliation leaves my side.
Why are you working so hard?
Krang dropped a word to everyone. Enkrid was natural. It was the same for Vengeance.
I'm a platoon leader. I'm a senior.
It was also a joke. Seeing it, he didn't seem to be hurt and came here, and it seemed like he was quite skilled. He was not an ordinary person to see his footsteps seem to miss Vengeance on purpose.
What?
Since the opponent was a soldier, Enkrid also spoke.
They say I squeeze and hold hands every day. Besides that, I stare into space and wonder what thoughts I have, and why I've been squeezing and relaxing my hands so hard.
There were many things that he was curious about. Even though he wasn't 8 years old, it wasn't that annoying.
I'm bored too.
Making fun of Vengeance's platoon leader was once or twice. Casual conversations and having such a partner were good tools for overcoming boredom.
This is grip strength training, and staring into space isn't spacing out. It's reviewing mistakes I made on the battlefield last time.
So why do that?
Why do that?
So I won't die in the next battle.
A soldier who goes that far to not mess up I haven't seen. Then there are guys who've lived for a long time among those soldiers.
Well, quite a few.
I guess he's lived looking at this. Enkrid thought from the start that the other party was playing a game with ordinary people, but that doesn't mean there's any change. Even if the other side wanted it, he could fit into things like this. It's not like losing. If you were going to be springing up in things like this, you'd be half crazy because of your talent for swordsmanship. Enkrid didn't do that. Rather, there's a way to go. He felt more satisfied with the joy of growth.
I think I need to practice stabbing more.
The wholehearted effort needed training. The heart of the beast remained a pillar for Enkrid. One step forward, a step taken every day. Even if today didn't repeat itself, nothing changed. Of course, not everything stayed the same.
What do you want to become?
Krang asked. It was similar to when Rem asked before. Memories of that time came back.
Why does that seem like such a distant past?
Days that had already disappeared, days that vanished because he had died. So the aspiration he casually expressed vanished just as casually. If he were to speak of the future, of dreams,
Would today disappear?
no. Even if dreams were silenced, devoured, torn apart by reality, traces remained. Traces, yes, merely traces remained in his heart. He had thought that way before. But now, how is it?
Are there only traces left?
Enkrid looked at his palm. There were calluses that had formed and burst repeatedly, leaving his palm distorted and scarred. The calluses, tough and ingrained at each joint of his fingers, would probably never disappear in his lifetime. This was what he had hoped for.
Is that really the case?
Are there still only traces left? He asked himself, and he seeks an answer. No, it won't be. He believes it isn't. Ironically, even during those times when only traces remained, Enkrid never gave up.
A knight.
A third-rate mercenary turned junior soldier, then a squad leader on that topic. Nothing more than a squad leader, a modest rank, insignificant skill. Yet the words he uttered were at the peak of everyone's thoughts. Vengeance tried to mockingly laugh from the side, but Krang's response was quicker than that.
Yeah, a knight.
It was strange. He should have laughed. He had to. Krang's attitude prevented that. It wasn't forced, but instinct said it shouldn't be done. Just a calm tone, but weighty. It carried weight. Krang earnestly accepted that whimsical dream. With all his might, he took it to heart. He could listen to the act to this extent.
Seeing you makes me feel like I understand how to live.
Krang said. Enkrid shrugged. The strange air that filled the medical tent for a moment disappeared as suddenly as it appeared.
Ha, Knight, you're funny.
So Vengeance laughed heartily, but it looked ridiculous. Neither Enkrid nor Krang bothered to respond to him.
I am a superior.
Vengeance attempted a feeble rebellion. Of course, it didn't fly. Exactly 1 week. Enkrid's side no longer hurt.
Thanks to the ointment?
He recovered quickly. As bedtime approached, Krang asked.
Back to duty tomorrow?
Yeah.
Today was straightforward. The returning bard praised Cypress praises right next to the infirmary from morning. The soldier on duty for the medical tent was late for breakfast. He also saw Kreis during a light walk around noon. Big Eye's complexion wasn't good. Without saying anything, he walked away alone. After that, nothing happened. Since the patients in the medical tent didn't keep watch, they had really rested well.
Sleep well, Enkrid. You too, Krang. Let's see when you get back, both of you.
Vengeance also greeted each other every day, so Enkrid closed his eyes and fell asleep, and
Cypress, Cypress!
he woke up to the bards singing.
Again today.
The author, who tasted the flavor of money and became a bard on the battlefield, was heard singing around the barracks, so it meant he didn't stay in one place for more than 2 days. Today the singing should have been heard from a farther place. Why mention 2 consecutive days here?
Are you slacking off again? Why isn't breakfast served?
Vengeance grumbled as he got up. Enkrid bristled at his words. He had heard that complaint yesterday too, or exactly, he heard it in today's repetition.
Was the soldier late for breakfast yesterday too?
Enkrid asked. Vengeance stared at Enkrid and chuckled before replying.
What nonsense are you spouting? Yesterday it was served on time.
Enkrid sighed in frustration. This confirmed it. Today was a repeat. It meant
I died in my sleep without anyone knowing. Got stabbed while sleeping.
Enkrid was so bewildered that he couldn't even laugh.
Was I that oblivious?
Even if I got stabbed and died while sleeping, could that even happen? If I were that oblivious, I wouldn't have survived until now. It was hard to guess how he died. Enkrid recalled the moment before falling asleep. There was nothing unusual. He didn't feel any signs. He fell asleep, and after that he never woke up. Did he hear the sound of insects during his sleep? Was he restless in his sleep? No, he slept soundly. It was a return after just 1 day. https://hugging face, co-unsloth. Quen 3.635 BA3B UDQ4KS.GGoof. Download fur. He slept without thinking. He thought it was his final rest. After that, he felt like he was possessed by a ghost, but he didn't foolishly panic. If he froze his head in shock, he would die. It was just another day beginning. Since he had already done it once, Enkrid knew what he had to do. what he had to think about. There were two things to think about. One is how, whether it's cutting the throat or covering the nose and mouth. How can you kill a person without feeling any pain? The other is why.
Why me?
He died without even knowing when it happened. It's not some clumsy trick. If the opponent is an assassin, they would be top tier or beyond. If it's an enemy soldier,
Probably someone more than a top-tier assassin.
the infirmary is in the rear. If they've come this far without being noticed, they must be assassins capable of slitting a knight's cheek and returning unscathed. The answer to the question why is practically already somewhat apparent. Apart from myself, there's only Krang and Vengeance in the tent,
No one else could aim for vengeance.
so there's only one answer: Krang. A soldier who says he forgot about his own unit. Such a person couldn't just be a soldier. The answer to why came out, and how was resolved. You'll understand tonight when it happens to you. Funny thing is, when I was stabbed by that pervert, I thought it was tough because of the damn pain I felt each time I died, and looking into that pervert's eyes made me feel like crap.
Here's more crap.
It felt disgusting. To die without even knowing what's what. Truly, it felt incredibly disgusting. It wouldn't even feel like this rolling around in shit.
Feels really.
Like crap? But saying that won't change anything. Enkrid forgot about feelings like that. Instead, he recalled what needed to be done and organized his thoughts.
Checking how it will be tonight and assuming why came aiming for Krang.
Another question arose here. Beyond how and why, it's about who. Who is the assassin? Assuming it's not an enemy soldier. Someone who knows the position of the infirmary, knows how to hide their body, and is capable of assassination. Someone whose target is already identified and who has easy access. One figure immediately came to mind.
Company commander.
It was a reasonable suspicion. Fairies move quietly, with subtle and swift movements. A perfect race for assassination. Moreover, since he himself is here, there's a reason to come and go here. If the purpose was this direction, wasting time with pointless talk a few days ago also makes sense. It fits like a puzzle piece.
What are you doing?
Vengeance asked beside him, and Enkrid reflexively answered.
Thinking.
Thinking? That was one hell of a short sentence. Are you really crazy, you lunatic?
Checking how much his thigh injury had healed, Vengeance, hobbling, stood up.
Oh, I thought you were Krang, sir. My mistake.
If you call it a mistake, is that all?
I apologize.
Is an apology all it takes?
Caught him by the tail.
Bring some food for me.
Enkrid ignored Vengeance as usual and walked out of the tent. Behind him, amidst Vengeance's muttered curses, came a voice.
I'm not eating.
Krang's voice rose quietly. He wasn't bitter about his friend getting him killed. It felt disgusting, and it was irritating because of him. But Krang didn't kill him. In the end, it wasn't because of his lack of skill, or maybe just really bad luck. Enkrid thought that.
If you know, you won't be attacked.
An assassin who sneaks up on him, just causing a disturbance, will make nearby allies gather. It was enough to catch a cat sneaking in at night. No need to catch it personally. Soon, a soldier responsible for the infirmary approached, rubbing his eyes. Dragging his feet, he looked really annoyed. This guy was always the same.
Because of you being late, the platoon leader is really pissed off. Because I'm late? It's because you, as the squad leader, keep messing around, isn't it?
Officially, this soldier was also of squad leader rank, so we were of the same rank.
You're complaining even though you're just a low-ranking soldier with swollen legs.
As we met on the way back together, the lazy soldier asked. It was a question that cut both ways, but it wasn't hard to understand. He kept asking why he didn't rush in without fear.
Vengeance? He's a mid-ranking soldier.
Not only the Cyprus division, but also the Naurillian Kingdom's army divided soldiers into grades. It was practically a reward system for boosting morale. Prove your skills, and you'll be awarded an appropriate grade. I heard there's a bonus each time your grade goes up. Enkrid also found this system useful in many ways. Lowest, low, mid, high, top. With 5 grades, soldiers were motivated to train fiercely. Naurillia respected martial prowess, so most commanders had at least a high rank in the military. And knights were excluded from the ranks. Knights were just knights. They were beyond human limits. They couldn't be bound by such a system. So a platoon leader was at least a mid-ranking soldier. A squad leader was either a low or mid-ranking one. Of course, even if they were skilled, they wouldn't disrupt the command structure. When it came to platoon leaders or above, they were somewhat selectively chosen, but exceptions always existed. Enkrid was a low-ranking soldier and a squad leader. His squad members were at least mid-ranking soldiers.
You seem like a peculiar person.
The soldier said thoughtlessly. Enkrid felt strange.
Me.
I've only ever heard that I'm ordinary all my life, or that I lack talent,
2 servings will be enough for the meal.
Enkrid said. The soldier looked at him and muttered,
He's definitely a bit strange.
but prepared only 2 portions. Returning to the tent, Enkrid calmed Vengeance down a bit. After sorting out breakfast, they trained as usual and reviewed past battles. Krang didn't eat breakfast and was absent, so only Enkrid and Vengeance were eating.
Krang said he was going to be absent.
Well, yeah.
The infirmary soldier responded to Enkrid's question with a nonchalant nod. Although the ferry company commander was considered a suspect, this side was also plausible.
The soldier can come and go here any time, right?
There were guards in front of the infirmary, but they wouldn't stop the medic.
Let's not jump to conclusions.
Even if the guess is likely to be correct, making a decision on it will make your head stiff. It's better to keep the possibility open. Krang returned after lunch. It was the same day. Of course, only Enkrid moved differently.
Are you busy?
When Enkrid spoke, Krang, who returned, nodded his head and asked with a slight smile.
Do you know that?
Suddenly, what are you talking about?
What
You're the first to speak.
did I?
Now that I think about it, it seemed like that. I didn't particularly notice it.
Maybe I did.
What a logical thing. Krang laughed and sat on Enkrid's bed. Enkrid wasn't particularly curious about Krang's identity. No, he hadn't been. But because of the soldier who concealed his identity, today began to repeat itself, and he became curious. What is he doing that the assassin approaches? It was okay to coax him gently and reveal his identity. He was someone who sincerely listened to his dreams. Sometimes it's better to convey sincerity to the other person rather than ask back. Enkrid did that. He sat beside him and looked straight into his eyes.
What's your identity?
Vengeance woke up, seeing the 2 of them together, and stopped muttering anything. Because he too had heard Enkrid's question, Vengeance was also curious. Enkrid calmly waited for an answer. Krang smiled, but it wasn't as relaxed as before. He looked at Enkrid's eyes without erasing his smile for a while.
Is he asking for an eye duel?
Enkrid patiently waited for his mouth to open. When Vengeance, unable to bear it, tried to say something.
I can't say.
Why?
If I tell you, it won't be fun, plus I have a promise to keep.
Really?
Really.
Enkrid nodded at Krang's reluctance to reveal more. Vengeance, watching the 2 from the back bed, had heard the entire absurd conversation, and he thought, what kind of nonsense is this? Why is he nodding over there after asking the question himself so? Is there a hidden identity? If there's a reason he can't reveal it, is he an enemy? A spy? Vengeance's thoughts ended and his mouth opened simultaneously.
Are you a spy?
I'm just a squad leader.
Not you, idiot.
Me? No.
Krang shook his head. Hearing Vengeance's question, Krang immediately denied it, made a short humming sound, and then stood up from the bed. Enkrid quietly watched him. He walked a few steps and stood in the middle of the infirmary. The soldier guarding the infirmary, half asleep, looked at him and squinted his eyes.
I can't reveal my identity, but there's one thing I can say.
It was a strange feeling. His steps as he walked to the center of the tent, his manner of speaking, his gestures, his smile, his gaze, his breath, everything seemed to fit perfectly, creating a strange feeling. It was as if he was an actor walking on a prepared stage. A peculiar aura that naturally drew everyone's attention flowed from his body. Enkrid unconsciously focused on Krang's lips. If you know how to listen with all your heart, maybe you can speak words that captivate the ears and hearts of others.
I cannot betray this kingdom.
A statement neither too fast nor too slow. Just a simple statement. Sometimes it can be a lie. Sometimes it can be meaningless noise. Sometimes it's used to whisper a love that will soon fade. It's just such a simple statement, but it changes drastically depending on whose mouth it comes from. Krang's words sounded like the inevitable law that flowers bloom in spring, leaves turn in autumn, and leaves fall in winter. It sounded like an indisputable law. Enkrid saw a vision. The tent suddenly seemed to widen dramatically. Krang appeared to stand in the very center. It felt vast. He remembered passing through the granary plains of the kingdom of Naurilia while mercenarying. The surroundings opened up like those vast grasslands. Even with the expanded surroundings, Krang stood vividly in the center. His presence seemed to encompass the wilderness.
Not just an ordinary person.
He was the type that couldn't be classified by rank.
A knight.
No, could a knight-level warrior have such mediocre skills? Even if a knight-level warrior hid his true abilities, no one would be able to tell. It was just a hunch. He probably wasn't a knight.
Well, if you don't believe me, that's fine.
As Krang casually threw out this remark, the vast grasslands and wilderness disappeared. Krang, who had appeared so vividly, returned to his usual appearance.
I'd appreciate it if you believed me, though.
I think I should believe you, really.
Yeah.
Because you said so.
Enkrid couldn't even guess the true identity of his counterpart.
It doesn't really matter.
As long as he could fend off the assassin, that was all that mattered. It was just curiosity. It would be nice if the other person would tell him, but if not, it wasn't a problem. Vengeance, who had been holding his breath, finally exhaled deeply. Then he looked at Enkrid and Krang, trying to say something.
Damn it.
That was all he said before turning away. Krang's identity seemed to be quite extraordinary, and Vengeance couldn't find any more words. Seeing this, Krang burst out laughing and said,
Don't worry, platoon leader. I'm just Krang for now.
Who said otherwise?
Shh, he's really scared. Enkrid found Vengeance almost endearing. It was fascinating how he constantly picked fights with him yet shut up entirely in front of Rem. He didn't really bother any of the other squad members either.
Come to think of it, I'm curious why he only does it to me.
Enkrid glanced at Vengeance and killed time. Another ordinary day passed.
Sleep well, Enkrid.
You too.
Ahem.
Squad leader Vengeance, perhaps fearing future repercussions, skipped his usual evening greeting. It left Enkrid feeling oddly empty. Soon the assigned night guard stood in front of the tent. Enkrid didn't sleep. He could fall asleep quickly if he wanted to, but if necessary, staying up all night for a day wasn't a problem. His survival as a mercenary was more due to his stamina and wits than his swordsmanship. Time passed. Night deepened. The night guard changed twice. Vengeance snored loudly beside him. Enkrid lost himself in various thoughts, forgetting sleep.
If I keep lying here, I'll end up dozing off.
Just as he considered getting up to go relieve himself, a prick. His neck felt a slight sting. Thinking he might have been bitten by a bug, he scratched his neck. Then he felt something catch on his hand with a tick.
A needle, a poisoned needle.
He carefully pinched it between his fingers and pulled it out. It was a thin needle made of wood.
Well, this is unexpected.
He had planned to scream when the attacker appeared. But soon after the sting, a dull pain started at the pierced area, and then he couldn't feel anything. It was as if his neck and body had been cut off and taken away. He knew they were there, but he couldn't feel anything below his neck.
What is this?
Soon dizziness hit him and his head spun.
A poisoned needle.
He had been hit. This was the answer to the how. No matter how dull a person was, no matter how deeply they slept, how could they not know if their neck was cut or their heart pierced? The answer was right here. It was a severe paralytic poison. Enkrid tried to keep his eyes wide open until the end. He couldn't afford to waste this day. A blurry shadow came into view. The figure was small. Unless they had an unusual physique, it wasn't an adult male. It appeared to be a woman or a child. The shadow approached and swung an arm, and that was the last thing he saw.
Cypress, Cypress.
The praises to Cypress rang out. A new day had begun. To be precise, it was the third day.
Are you slacking off? Why haven't you brought breakfast?
It was the same. Platoon leader Vengeance was complaining about the soldier who hadn't brought breakfast. Since there was no need to waste time today.
I'll go out and check.
Without confronting him, Enkrid stepped outside. First, he needed to fetch the soldier. Let's start anew. To be honest, he didn't even know where the poison needle had come from, so what should he do? The answer was to stay awake and be prepared, not just lie down. What he needed now was a plausible excuse. An excuse to stay awake and up at night. Even though this was the rear, it was still a battlefield. Excuses to stay awake were plentiful.
Let's try again, assassin.
Enkrid began his preparations.